The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon, Illinois. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. First of all, I want to thank everybody for all the emails they sent. We had a horrible hurricane last night here in South Florida. Besides losing some electricity, we came out a lot better, but I wanted to thank everybody for doing that. We've got an incredible show for you today. For the next 50 minutes, we're going to talk about bankruptcy and we're going to talk about tax relief. And the great part about it is they're not the greatest subjects to talk about, but we have what I call a cure for both bankruptcy and for tax relief. We have one of the finest attorneys in the state of Illinois. Let me welcome you, Kevin Benjamin. Hi, Kevin.
How are you?
I'm doing well. It looks sunny there in Chicago.
Yeah, actually, it's going to be like 70 or 80 tomorrow.
Oh, stop bragging, Kevin. I know how cold it gets there.
Yeah.
Kevin, it looks like we are getting so many new listeners that are finding the show by accident, believe it or not. So tell people about your law firm.
Okay. It's Benjamin Legal Services. It's benjaminlaw.com or benjaminlegalservices.com. We're basically a consumer and business bankruptcy, foreclosure, and tax resolution law firm. We handle businesses and individuals with the IRS tax controversy, tax debts, audits. If necessary, I could do the U.S. tax court, whatever you need. We're also federal court a lot, do a lot of bankruptcy, foreclosure, defense, loan workout and restructurings, Chapter 7, 11, 13. And there's all sub 11s and stuff like that we could discuss. And that's really the primary is bankruptcy, all kinds of bankruptcy and restructuring, foreclosure, saving your house, maybe restructuring your loan if we can, catching up and stopping foreclosure, and tax resolution, tax controversy with the IRS or state.
Kevin, I got a little surprise for you. I had to wait for the show. We start promoting the show 3 or 4 days out, so a lot of people will know that your show is coming on right now. We got a call from a bankruptcy attorney in Chicago who has listened to 4 or 5 of your shows and said that you are really a great attorney and that the information you're providing is right on. And I thought that was so cool because I've been doing this for 12 years. I never have that happen.
Thanks.
It's usually the other way around, hey, they're no good. We're better. But it was really a supreme compliment. And you do your information. Kevin, the way you give your information to the public, you don't talk over people's heads. You answer the questions and you make it so easy to understand.
Well, we try.
So let's start off. We're going to do the first half of the show on bankruptcy. We assume everybody knows what bankruptcy is, but if you've never gone through bankruptcy, explain to people what bankruptcy is.
Well, that's a great question, actually, because people think bankruptcy, they just think, in the movies or TV, you're out of debt, you have no money, and you're bankrupt, you're worthless. That's not the case. There's the U.S. Bankruptcy Code. There's different chapters of bankruptcy. So, like for example, I'll give you the quick ones that no one does. Chapter 9 is for government. Chapter 12 is for farmers. Chapter 15 is like international cross borders. Then there's a Chapter 11, which is usually a corporate restructuring of debt or a corporate liquidation, but usually staying in business, just restructuring your debt. And there's some different kinds of 11 I'll go into in a second. But generally speaking, a person does a Chapter 7 or a 13. A company could also do a 7, but Chapter 7 is the straight bankruptcy. I'm getting out of debt. Chapter 13 is like a personal restructuring of debt. The way a corporation would go Chapter 11, it's more streamlined, simpler, more affordable for a person. In simple terms, I just tell people it's a court-ordered bill consolidation is really one way to look at it. So you could look at it that way, and you keep all your assets. And in Chapter 13, you pay back your bills over 3 to 5 years, usually with no interest on the unsecured debt. I'll go more details in a second. But sometimes you could pay in a 13 some bills in full, some less than 100%, maybe as low as pennies on the dollar. I'll go into that in a minute. And then there's the Chapter 7 bankruptcy, right? Getting out of debt. But when you file Chapter 7, there's qualifications, right? Well, all the chapters have qualifications. So Chapter 7, and starting in 2005, they have this thing that's called the means test, where the government is deciding if you make too much money or not. And it's based upon your household size, depending on your state and county, because by IRS standards, related to bankruptcy standards, not the IRS tax resolution, but it's IRS standards, right? And they're adjusted, and they're different on the state and how many people in the house. And then there's ways to take deductions from that if you're over. There's ways to plan for that, or maybe you're missing expenses. So you got to talk to a lawyer about that. But basically, if you're under the income thing, then you're done. Otherwise, there's ways to take deductions, or maybe you're not. There's expenses that you're not taking because you don't have the money, but you really should, in accounts. And it's usually a backward test, the previous 6 months, not counting month of filing. However, you could make it a forward way too. I don't want to get too complicated, but you talk to a lawyer about that, right? But if you're under the debt limit, I'm not under the income limit, then you're done anyway. Or you want to get around it by being exempt from the means test. So the means test is really for consumer debt, which is debts incurred for household purposes. So if your debt is like 51% or more non-consumer, whether it's business debt or just non-consumer, you're actually exempt from the means test. So that's another way to do that. But just talk to a lawyer who knows what they're doing, because we'll qualify you. And then a Chapter 7 can only be done once every 8 years. So you get a discharge every 8 years in a Chapter 7. And you're only discharged of your dischargeable debts. So what does that mean? right? So like some debts aren't discharged. Like, for example, debts incurred by fraud, child support, alimony, some criminal judgments, taxes sometimes, student loans usually, you know what I'm saying? So and there's exceptions to these things as well. And then you have in a Chapter 7, your debts are categorized. There's really 3 categories, but it's really secured debt or unsecured, and there's 2 categories of unsecured debt. So secured debt, I have a mortgage, I have a car payment. I don't pay. They have the mortgage is the lien on the house. The car's got a lien on the car. The promissory notes are your personal obligation; those are dischargeable. But the security interest in the house or car, for example, makes you want to pay if you want. Generally speaking, you can keep those debts and keep paying, or give them back and owe nothing. Okay, because in a secured debt, they're only entitled to the creditor is to the lien. So if you want to keep your car, there's exemptions and stuff like that, but you make your payments and you keep the car. But you can't keep the car and not just pay. Same on your mortgage. You don't reaffirm a mortgage, but you don't pay the mortgage. You don't lose it in bankruptcy because you're not going to file Chapter 7 if there's equity issues. But you lose it because you don't pay the mortgage. Okay, so. Right. how that works. Then generally unsecured, there's priority or non-priority, like, certain types of taxes or priority debt or, overpayments on certain things. General unsecured debt, like student loans, is general unsecured, but they're generally not discharged. So there's a lot of legislation in the last year or so, and probably more coming up with the election in November to try to get out of that. But you have your credit cards, medical bills, sometimes taxes could be discharged in bankruptcy. You got to talk to a lawyer about that because you want to plan. There's also exemptions. So bankruptcy, it's federal law, but state exemptions. Okay, so you list all your assets, all your liabilities, all your assets minus the liens. It could be more than one lien, judgment liens, 2 mortgages, all these kinds of liens, right? Minus your exemptions, and that leaves your non-exempt equity, which determines whether or not that's your liquidation analysis of whether or not you want to do a Chapter 7 or try to do a 13, where you only have to pay back to unsecured creditors what the liquidation analysis says they would have gotten in a 7. So that's why sometimes you pay back less than 100% in a 13. Also, like if you want to stop foreclosure, keep your house, you're in foreclosure, you're doing a 13 out of 7, and then you may want to get rid of your credit cards, stuff. So that's why I talk to a lawyer, because you got to categorize your debts, how do I restructure them, what are my options, the pros and cons of each, how do you do that? Chapter 11 is more tech, more high tech. There's a sub 5 Chapter 11 for small businesses. There's a small business Chapter 11. There's a single asset real estate Chapter 11. There's a reorganization Chapter 11. There's a Chapter 11 liquidation. So there's all kinds of things. And a lot of clients don't know. I mean, I just got a phone call, 30, 40 minutes ago. Clients calling for Chapter 11. Fine, happy to do it. But when I'm talking to them, they don't understand what chapter we're talking about. So because they're out of business and they have no right. So it's really, they may not even need a case, but people don't know. That's why you call. Most lawyers give you a free consultation. So I'll tell you about
Kevin, when somebody comes into your office, they first of all, they have to open up to you. They have to let you know everything that's going on in order for you to help them.
Some people don't, but I don't know why. I mean, it's confidential.
Well, why do people think that filing for bankruptcy is still taboo?
Because they talk to people who are stupid. They go to a cocktail party and bankruptcy. I know something. You don't do that. You never get credit again. You never get. You're gonna put you in jail. No, they don't have. They haven't had debt prisons in a couple hundred years. Say it's a fresh start. It's the whole point of it is this thing. People a lot of people start small businesses and they take on some debt, and our country was grown on the back of small businesses, for example, and people taking chances. So they want to give you a fresh start, but not every year. You know what I'm saying? It used to be 6 years, then they raised it to 8 years. So people think that your credit report is somehow law. Like there's no law that says you can't get credit again after filing bankruptcy. And quite frankly, you'll be getting credit offers in the mail probably before you even discharged. And you get car loans, you get mortgages too. Sometimes right away, sometimes 18, 12 months, you got to rebuild your credit. However, sometimes your credit score goes up when you file because your credit score is not just your payment history. So also, you get judgments on there. It's your debt to income ratio, credit utilization rate. And when you file bankruptcy, oftentimes people's score actually goes up. So people think, hey, I stays on your
Tell me
credit.
why does that happen? That doesn't sound right.
Sure,
so if you file for bankruptcy,
your credit score is not just, what do you think your credit score is? Your payment history? It's not your credit score. It's your credit utilization rate, which is like how much credit you have, how much you've used. Also, if you're paying off your credit cards in full, now they penalize you for that because they don't want that. You know what I'm saying? So and also your debt to income ratio. How much do you owe compared to your income? You know what I'm saying? So people start calling sometimes like, hey, I can't buy, I have to get a mortgage. Then why are you calling me? How come you can't get a mortgage now? Because I have too much debt. No kidding. You know what I'm saying? Who's gonna give you a mortgage? You're making 40 grand, you owe 100 grand. It's like, it's like how you gonna pay a mortgage? But people are like, I can't get a lease. I can't get a lease. Yes, you can get a lease. apartment lease. You know what I'm saying? So they want you out. No one's punishing you for this stuff. Now, sometimes the big corporations, they just, but people want to loan. If you come to like rent my house, I'm going to rent to you. Okay. I rarely have you file bankruptcy last month. You got no more debt. Now you got your job. You can pay me. Plus, when you sign the lease, you can't file bankruptcy on me because you just did. You got 8 years. So that's how you get car loans, because they got no other debt, right? It's secured by the car. Yeah, they charge you some more interest, but if you're coming to me, you don't have good credit to start with, even though you think you do. People are like, I'm paying my bill. My credit's 7. You might have a higher credit score, but it doesn't mean when you apply for a loan, there's not one credit score, right? Are you applying for a mortgage? Different credit score. You're applying for a car, different credit score. Why? Because the man, so to speak, they don't want you having good credit. They don't want you with 2%. They don't want you can't get a loan, so they want,
Right.
They want to charge as much. So they want you like, hey, you're lendable, but you got this tier or, not that tier. So they get you for the rates. So basically the first step to getting your credit fixed is you got a debt. And people call, I got to fix my credit. No, you got to get a debt first. Okay. You got a debt, now you put it behind you and you start reestablishing your credit, which was really pretty easy, quite frankly. Start reestablishing.
Is that true?
Of course. It's like, so you if you don't file bankruptcy, you're not reestablishing your credit. You're behind on your credit card payments. You're behind on the car. Everything's still late. Everything's always currently bad. So it doesn't get better. So now you file Chapter 7 today. So now a month later, 2 months, 3, 6, the bad credit's behind you, right?
Right.
Now you got a car loan. Maybe you kept your car or got a car afterwards. Car payment's going to report, right? You get a secure credit card, or maybe they give you an unsecured credit card. That reports. You save some money, go to the bank, open up a CD, put some money in the bank, go get a bank loan, for $1,000. Secured by your own asset. Get a 6-month loan, pay it back and forth, do it twice. And then there's other companies that you could buy stuff that report to the credit bureau once you got to make payments. You know what I'm saying? So it's actually pretty easy. Don't get the credit retail card. Don't do that. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is, the first step is it's got a debt. Okay, now you put it behind you, start restuffing your credit, and you move forward, and you can get loans and you can do stuff. So your question was, why do people think it's taboo? I don't know how many actually still do anymore, but the ones that do, only because out of ignorance, because someone tells them, because they think they're better than them, you don't follow them, you can't get credit. No, having a stay on your credit report for 10 years doesn't mean you can't get credit for 10 years, okay? They don't care if it's off your credit report, you get more points on the credit score, but being on the credit report is not stopping you from getting a loan. They look at everything in conjunction. You had Chapter 7 2 years ago, but what have you done since then? Okay, you're still a mess. It's not because of the Chapter 7. Okay, oh, you cleaned up, you got a higher, great. Show me your income, show me you're back in business. So there's all kind of ways. But the biggest question is, if you don't file, how you get loans, because your credit's always currently bad. You just got to deal with it and move on. And quite frankly, Chapter 7 goes like 4 to 5 months before you do from start to finish. Chapter 13 go 3 to 5 years. Chapter 11's go longer. If you need it, there's different programs you could do. So there's all kinds of solutions to people's debt problem.
What I don't understand is you hear about all these celebrities, you hear about these big businesses. There's one here in South Florida. It's called BurgerFi. Huge restaurant, big chain. They're filing for bankruptcy. No one looks down on them.
Right. President Trump's companies filed before. Everyone thinks Trump filed bankruptcy. It's the companies, and then they're filing. Usually, they can file Chapter 7 or Chapter 11. They're restructuring or you're going out of business and liquidating. There's a business bankruptcy. There's a personal. Like a person could do a 7 or a 13. A company can't do a 13. 11's usually a corporation, though. An individual can do it. And sometimes has to, because Chapter 13 has like debt limits, which is another stupid thing they have in the bankruptcy code. So that's why you have a lawyer. What do I qualify for? How much? What are my options? Can I do a 713? Can I do a combination, which is really a 13, but paying back some bills less than 1%? Am I doing a case because I'm saving my house or my car from being repossessed or getting my car back? Or parking tickets usually aren't discharged in a 7, but there's a super discharge in Chapter 13. You can do it that way. So that's why you have a lawyer. It's not filling out papers. I mean, I'm about to be retained on a case. They pay me today. Someone just got their own case. Went to a BK preparer. Fill out some forms. They're not getting discharged, and they're being investigated for fraud for all the assets they didn't disclose and list. And now it's going to cost them a hell of a lot more money hiring me to defend them than
after they've already screwed things up.
They're not getting discharged. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just filling out forms. Not really.
No,
not really at all. You got to know how to fill it out, what to say, what to look at. You make sure people are doing it. I mean, clients sometimes innocently make mistakes. Someone call me today. Hey, so I got I might think about filing. I have this SBA loan. Can I put that in there? Well, first of all, the answer is you must list all your assets and liabilities. So you put everything. Right. People don't understand what that means, putting it in, right? You disclose everything. Then, that's an unsecured debt, right? But they may have personal. I don't know if they even have personal liability for it, but they do. It's unsecured. But the creditors have a deadline to file objections to discharge for their own loan or your whole case, or the 7-panel trustee or the U.S. trustee or a party in interest can contest it. So my answer to the client, basically, you got to disclose it. And if there's something you're not telling me about how it was used, or tell me now. Someone called yesterday. They had I was about to file with me, and then I spoke to someone else, and they told me I should maybe wait. Well, why?
Really?
I sold my car for $30,000, and I went to the casino and hit. So I said, well, first of all, you didn't mention that. How come you didn't hire that guy? Or it was a guy. That's why I said guy, not girl. So because the lawyer said I should probably wait. I said, I think I agree. I don't know who the lawyer was, but I said, you got to account for your. Do I believe you took the $30,000 and went to the casino and blew it? That's believable, okay? But if you just did it 2 weeks ago, because someone could challenge it, you had an asset. Where'd the money go? You can't trace it. So do you have receipts for the? No, you don't. So you wait. Down the road, 5, 6, 7 months. You can go. I had someone at the office got scammed by a friend. They had a situation where she signed loans from these companies, and then they were going to help out her friend and her cousin, and they were going to pay it back. Of course, they took the money and never paid it back. But then it got worse because I was going to say, well, okay, maybe you may have to wait. I got to account for it, right? She took the money out cash and gave him cash. I'm like, how? I said, I totally believe what she's saying. She got scammed. But I said, I can't account for the money. You're going to get, so she wound up getting out of a different way. But people, we got to be careful of the scams. Okay. So for example, someone says, I don't have books and records. Or something. No, I just don't have the books and records. You're not getting discharged. Because if the trustee wants to see the books and records, you can't account for something like that. People aren't stupid. It's not kindergarten. Well, I didn't know. I'm just going to tell them this. The bankruptcy judge, the U.S. trustee, the 7 trustee, the 13 trustee, the debtors, lawyers, the credit. We've heard everything. Okay, all your little scams. I just gave the title to my son. I don't have a house. Oh, really? Guess what? You're right. You don't have a house. Now the trustee does. Okay. So it's all these people think they go on the Google or they go from some seminar and don't transfer things out of your name. Okay. And even if it's innocent, talk to me, because you could do bankruptcy planning and exemption planning, and there's a proper way to do things. I'm saying? Not everything is wrong. I have people that I want to make them in tenancy by the entirety because there's a different exemption. But if I file the case tomorrow, I can't claim. I may tell them to put it in tenancy by entirety, but I can't claim the exemption right now because you just filing the case. People but you want to have yourself, for estate planning purposes, do things the right way. But you can't. You got to acknowledge what you got to pay back, because you can't just claim exemption.
Hey, Kevin, I got to get this last question before we go to tax relief. A friend of mine who knows we're doing the show today we normally do never get into politics on this show, but this is one time I understand why he's asking the question. I hope you can answer it. He wants to know that Trump filed bankruptcy on his casinos. Does that make him a poor businessman?
No, I mean, that's it's not a pro-Trump or
Right.
Like, no, absolutely not. I mean, Chapter 11. I mean, one thing Trump said in these like debates like 4 years ago or 8 years ago when we were talking about it is that's what the laws are for, to restructure. So if you're restructuring debt, companies do that all the time, And there's turnaround people like Romney was a turnaround expert. You know what I'm saying? He turned companies around. And when he ran for president, on some of the debates, people are like, oh, he's a terrible guy. He gets companies and he lays everybody off. No, he's actually saving the company because the reason they're bankrupt because some idiot was running the company and putting everyone on payroll just to put, so you're actually saving the company because you can't just pay everybody even not doing a job. I mean, in some cases, but so it all depends how you look at it. But Trump is not I don't know if I call him a businessman. A lot of times he just uses his name and he
yes,
he tries to brand himself and like his casinos and he doesn't own those buildings. He has a name on it and he gets a cut. You know what I'm saying? So if the casino is going out of business, Trump is not running the casino. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, he has his name on it, but he's part of it. But if someone's business goes under, it could be because they're a bad business person, but not necessarily. It could be look at what happened with COVID. A lot of companies went bankrupt, going out. The one who called me today, I was talking about the Chapter 11. They were in business from 2015. It was a restaurant, and they went out of business a couple weeks ago. So I mean, they were in business many years before COVID, but the market doesn't really come back. A lot of people aren't going out as much, and so are they a bad business person? Maybe I don't know them, but
Kevin, Chicago's known for their restaurants. Here in South Florida, there's a lot of restaurants going under. Is it the same in Chicago?
Yeah, like the one I'm talking about. Is a lot of restaurants. And there's some like old time restaurants, some good restaurants, right? People don't have the money or they don't go out as much. Also, like we had the Democratic convention here in August, right?
Yes.
So people, oh great, we'll get a boost. Well, people downtown, they're like with all the security and the street closers, they weren't getting any foot traffic because it depends how far away you were from the so people they go a lot more now. I mean, I know I go out more than I used to, but not the way I used to. And people just don't always also want to go for the upscale thing either. So and people aren't going downtown. Like Chicago has the Loop, the business district, and Tampa's got one, but different areas of the country don't always have. But so people aren't commuting to downtown every day. Maybe they're, a couple of days. So there's not as many people there.
Right.
So like in the old days, like downtown in the Loop, where the courthouses are and business, stuff like that, I mean, some of those restaurants by the courthouse, what I'm saying, they'd be packed politicians and lawyers, what I'm saying, all day, morning after court. Now
a lot of people are still working remote.
Or court, people have Zoom court.
Yes.
So who's going to the restaurant? No one's going downtown. Not no one, but So there's a lot of deals on office space. So yeah, I mean restaurants, businesses. I mean, that's what it's for. You know what I'm saying? I mean, sometimes you can restructure, you can cut some debt, restructure some contracts, depending on what it is, and you restructure Chapter 11. You maintain your business, and you just it's kind of like a corporate, restructuring. That's what to stay in business. That's what it's for. So, but sometimes you get these. It doesn't work, or sometimes
I want people to know that you've got so many things, so many ways that you can help your client. If Chapter 11 doesn't work for you, I mean, it might be 13. There's a lot of different ways that you can go.
That's what people really should, and the call is free, and a lot of lawyers give that because people don't know what they need. They think they need 11, but it's really a 7. So I just say, tell me the situation, and then and you may have more than one option. You know what I'm saying? And then where we're going, and then they tell you more information. Like, well, hey, what or now it's like, hey, you don't qualify for 7, but good news, you qualify on in 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? Or you qualify in 2 months. Or I've had the opposite, like a couple months ago, like you got to file at the end of the month, right? The means test will change every. So if it's the end of the month, the means test could change the next day. I've had clients, I'm like, hello, I got to, they didn't even finish paying me. I got to take a look. I got to file now. You don't qualify tomorrow. Right. I'm doing the calculations, because they're not everyone's on always getting the same paycheck. They have different incomes. So it's an average, and then you hit a big bone. So, things could fluctuate, or sometimes people are seasonal and it's all changing. So when they're hiring you, but not giving you documents, and then you're trying to file, and that's the hardest part, because like everything has to be reanalyzed every month. And then people say, well, what'd you do? I'm working on your case for 6. I've had clients I got to fire. I'm filing your case or go away. It's not rocket science. Give me the documents. I'll file your case, right? Why is it taking me 6 months? You didn't pay me. The deal wasn't just for me to drag you and be hounding you for documents every day. Then they change. And he's telling Kevin, I gave you that, but that was, now it's a new month. I need a new one because, so I'm just trying to help you. I'm the lawyer. Let me be the lawyer, not a clerk. Right. Right. Most clients, they give it to you, but some of the ones, the few that don't, that they drag all the time. I had someone losing a house yesterday, hiring me 5 months ago, and it's just property taxes. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You tell me October 8th, right? It's like, you didn't even give me the redemption period. It's basic documents. It's like, am I bothering you? I told him it's September, file the case or get someone else, because I'm not going to be liable when it doesn't. So then I had done for him on Friday, and then I couldn't get a hold of the guy. I'm like, are you kidding me? But it turned out he was out of town for the weekend. I'm like, you got to sign it. I can't just file it. You got to authorize. We have to go over it. You got to authorize the filing. I can't just file a document. But so people don't always, but it's done. But the point is, sometimes people just don't understand, or someone told them something, but it's not really that hard. Even on a complicated case, it may be complicated to you. It's really not complicated to me or other experienced lawyers. Sometimes it is, okay, but not always. But just give me all the information. And the clients that do, you can just bang that thing out. First of all, I could draft it in a day. And once I draft it, I have documents. Now I have actually hard, exactly what I need, and what's a problem or not a problem. I'll do the asset search, lien search for free. Otherwise people just say, well, I got this, I got that. Well, okay, that's what you say. But then you give me the intake or give me the documents, and they go, like someone like the other day, I'm filing the case, life insurance, term or whole life? Whole life. Okay, do you know the difference? Is there a cash value? Cash value is $50,000. You got a problem. But I suspect it's not a whole life. I suspect it's term with $50,000 upon death. Okay, so that's term. That's not an asset. You got to die first. Okay. Whole life is more of an investment. Every month you give an insurance company, they give you a death benefit, but you also have a cash value. So, and some people have that, and sometimes that could be all exempt too. But so people don't always know the terms.
Kevin, give everybody your phone number and your website before we go to talk about tax relief.
Kevin Benjamin, 312-853-3100. 312-853-3100, or just go to benjaminlaw.com. That'll have all our information on there. Happy to offer free consultation. If you go to the website, benjaminlaw.com, you can also fill out on the website your name and email. I can contact you, or there's a link to my Calendly. We can just schedule, a consultation to get on my calendar, however you want to do it. But
it's so important, Kevin, whether we're talking bankruptcy or tax relief, that a person should not try to handle this themselves. Because I know you've gotten clients that tried that, and then by the time they come to you, they've screwed everything up.
Oh man, when they do the pro se case and then come, sometimes you don't even want. Some guys won't take it. Some people, and sometimes I think about it because it's harder to fix that all your screw ups than not, or you may have missed deadlines, or claims, or committed fraud. So people don't know what they're doing. That's bad.
Yes, no, exactly. So let's go over to taxes now. We ran a little long on bankruptcy, but gosh, time goes by so fast on this show. have you hear about all these new agents they're hiring, 80,000 new agents. Are these new agents they're hiring, are they different from the agents in the past?
Yeah, a lot of them are new, so they're adding a lot of newbies, and a lot of the experienced ones are retiring or going on. So you're getting more agents, which is, as far as answering the phone, could be better, but they don't always know what's going on or what they're doing. And just
so you have to educate them.
Sometimes you do, yeah. I just dealt with one. Not that the person was dumb, but the IRS, I had a guy over a couple. They owe over $1 million. I'm trying to do an installment agreement, and I want to submit it, but I know there's thresholds, right? So I know I want it to go to the right party so we can get this resolved. My people want it resolved. I want it resolved. So it's weird because the IRS didn't know who has it, what divisions, automatic collections, revenue officer, registration. So I'm calling and I'm getting different answers. Oh, it's in there's a revenue officer. What's the name? Well, it's not. It's in special investigations. With who? And then something's got to be assigned a revenue officer. Okay, great. Oh, Kevin, 7 days. Well, then 3 weeks later, I call it. Oh, Kevin's got to be assigned. You told me that a month ago. We're trying to pay you. So sometimes they're just overwhelmed. They don't know what is what, and that gets frustrating because we actually want to pay them and resolve this. But otherwise, you call them, you're an AC. Sometimes you're bothering them, or they give you they hang up on you, they disconnect you. Courtesy disconnect, or they just hang up on you. You got to call back. You got to wait on the phone for hours. And oftentimes, if you're an automatic collections, ACS, which a lot of people are, sometimes instead of educating the IRS person, you just say thank you very much, and don't hang up on them, but hang up and then just call back and get somebody else. Sometimes it's easier just to call back and get someone else and try to argue or fight with somebody or to explain to them why the Internal Revenue Manual needs to be followed even by them, and they should read it. But that's only some people. A lot of them know what's going on. Some have different attitudes. IRS agents. I had IRS agents try to bully me, but it's not going to work. It's like I got to call. You know what I'm doing. It's not like there's civil IRS, and there's criminal. You know what I'm saying? So if we're in civil, be civil. We may not agree on expense or what's going on, but don't start ordering me to try to have my client do something when they don't have to, because that's why I'm resolved. But most IRS agents, though, the IRS, they want to resolve. They want the money, right? So when you hire a professional, they're actually happy. Great. Because now you got if you got someone knows what they're doing, right? Because now they know what they're doing and they're trying to get it resolved. I've had clients have done their own offer and compromise, or then they call me. It's the same thing as doing your own bankruptcy, right? It's a nightmare, right? So the client, I did my own, but I want you. Why? Why you need me? You did it yourself, right? Well, so now you call the IRS and they're like, oh, okay, Mr. Benjamin. Well, did you know they did this, that, and this? No. So I don't want the case. It's like, I handle the case, okay? So that I know what's going on and I know what the issues are and I can anticipate what objections they may have or where we're going with something like that. Just like a lawyer trying a case or being in court. I'm a lawyer, you know what I'm saying? So what I don't want to do is, just like if I was trying the case, I'm not going to make your argument or not know what's going on. You got to be prepared, right? So when they do their own thing, they have their own ideas. They went on Google and, maybe they're giving money to their
Right.
kids. And it's like, okay, you gave the money to the kids, but that's not going to count with the IRS. You can't just give your assets away and then say I'm broke. You know what I'm saying? Because too bad. Just like in bankruptcy, you can't, always do that. But people don't understand, so you got to make them understand. So they don't tell you everything. So the ones who do it themselves, that want you, some guy was calling me for 4 or 5 months, called me again 2 weeks ago. And I know his name. I'm like, why are you calling? I stopped calling me. The free consultation's over. You know how to do everything. You made an appointment to even show up or cancel, which is a pet peeve. And then I'm not seeing you again. Oh, come see me. you're an hour away. I don't make house calls. I don't need to see you. I can do it by Zoom.
People actually ask you that?
Oh yeah. Well, can you come by me? Somebody asked me that 2 days ago. I said, can I? Yes. Will I? No. I'm not making a house call. I have an office. You don't need to see me, but sometimes I make you. I mean, but sometimes on an issue that's more complicated, come see me, maybe sit down. But otherwise, it's all by Zoom. If you want to see that I'm real, come to my office. Otherwise, I'll give you my bar card. I mean, I get their scams. No doubt about it. I'm saying, but no, I don't make house calls. And a lot of them who say that is because they got scammed by some of the national ones, right? Oh. Well, you wouldn't see the national ones in person, right? But some actually say, hey, I got ripped off. I just want to come see you. I said, okay. I mean, come to my office, and they do. Now, make an appointment. Don't just walk into my office, because I'm not going to see you. Just walk in. I'm busy. I'm saying I schedule my appointments. But yeah, you want to schedule an appointment? Come on down. Sure, come on down. I don't really need to see you. But if you can't make it, you call me, you cancel. You don't just not show up, because then I do. So now this guy's begging me to do his case. And I'm like, I said no. Now he's texting me how great I am.
Will you do an audit with a client?
Yeah. Well, the IRS will do an audit. So then they want someone to help defend the audit or represent with the audit. So yeah,
will you be there with them?
Yeah. We can help them with the audits. Help them with appeals, different kind of appeals. If it goes all the way to tax court, I'm a member of the U.S. tax court. As a lawyer, I've been a member for decades. So you could resolve. And by the way, when you go to appeal, or you go to, it's not always bad, okay? Because when you go up the ladder, you're getting more experienced, like IRS agents or officers or on the panel, whatever. So they sometimes understand, and they want to make, it's not an appeal like in court. I don't like the decision, I'm appealing, so then it's like reverse or not reverse. In an appeal here, it's like it can get resolved still. Saying maybe the issue we're talking about was just a couple expenses on liquidation of an asset, that when you do the formula with the IRS on your reasonable collection potential. Remember, in bankruptcy was the means test liquidation analysis, very similar in taxes, like the reasonable collection, which is like the analysis. But those numbers fluctuate, which determines the number that you're going to offer and compromise, or whether you're doing a full pay installment agreement or a partial pay installment agreement. See, there's offer and compromise, but then there's different levels of it. Then there's also partial pay and full pay installment agreements, and how you're doing things, and are you in special investigations? Are you with the what kind of documentation do you need to provide? So some are smaller cases, they're more streamlined. You could just certify I had this, and you could make a deal, right? Otherwise, if it's more a revenue officer or higher or a different level, they want verification of certain things even if you're paying in full, on installment agreement. So then there's also issues like, let's say, like you come in like for a free consultation. So we say, okay, you're $52,000, whatever. We figure it out, we verify it. Okay, but guess what? So we pay down, $3,000 right now, and now we're under this, threshold, and we can do a street, or you get under 10 grand, you could do so all kinds of things depending on where you are on a threshold. Maybe it's easiest to pay a couple bucks, get under that threshold, less documentation. This is a strategy, you know what I'm saying? But you can't hide things. Someone called the other day, they owe 3.5, but I don't know. Okay, you say you don't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you don't. You know what I'm saying, but it's like, I don't, Kevin, help me with the amendment returns. Well, it turns out the IRS filed, they called they filed SFR, substitute for return. Okay, so the IRS filed the returns for you. Now, of course, it's not going to be to your benefit. Now they have an accountant. They want to redo things. I said, well, unless you're taking exemptions or taking deductions, which I don't know if you have or not, because I'm not the CPA, and it's going to get you under like millions, who cares? Because if you owe how am I going to pay 3.5? I'm not saying that's the whole point. If you owe $3 million or 3.5, but your reasonable collection number is 100 grand, that's what you're paying. It could be over maybe 72 months. So it's like, unless you're really taking, even amending doesn't always work. So the bottom line is you don't have to pretend you don't owe it. Okay. Maybe they don't. Okay. But who knows? I'm saying, so I didn't, finish with the analysis yet. But if you do, it's okay. That's in the civil IRS right now. It wasn't in criminal. Okay. So we could resolve that. But now you got to tell me your assets and liabilities. And they weren't kind of doing that. They fill out a form, the questionnaire, and they don't know real estate. Well, on the phone, you told me you inherited a farm and you got, buildings and houses on the, come on, I'm saying? Now, but does that mean there could be a mortgage on? I don't, but help me help you. Because I can only do, in other words, again, just like in bankruptcy, I have to know what I'm doing, know the facts so I could defend you and argue with the IRS and be aggressive if I have to, or defend you if I have to, because if I don't know what I'm doing, or, I'm just taking over your case and you're saying that, I'm not a puppet. I'm saying, go do it yourself. Okay. That's why I can stand up for you, because I had the facts. I know where the case is weak or strong or not. I know what the client's rights are or not. Okay. That's why you have me, whether it's bankruptcy or tax resolution or litigation in court. I want to know what's going on so I can make the argument. Otherwise, what's the point? I'm saying,
Kevin, I want to get this in before we go, because you do handle businesses when it comes to tax relief. This is a positive thing about hiring Kevin is try getting the IRS on your own on the phone, especially if you're trying to run a business. It could take hours to get them on the phone. Here you could have Kevin, and he knows how to get a hold of them.
Right. Well, I'm on hold too. You know what I'm saying? But let's say you when you have a revenue officer or agent, that's good. For me, it may not be good for you because of the situation with your case, but it's good for me because I have a direct line to the person. You know what I'm saying? I'm not calling all over the scroll and getting the loop. The courtesy disconnects. But even then, I have one going right now. The guy's playing phone tag all the time. I'm like, they won't give me information. Then he gets mad, and I'm like, well, first of all, you have my email. I can come meet with you too. But it's like, I have some questions for your client. Now this one may go criminal. I'm like, well, that's interesting because this is the ERC scam, employment retention credit scam. My guy's getting screwed, but he's signed it and he's liable, and they may go after him. And I didn't know that. I had to warn my guy. So the guy's giving me, the officer's giving me questions, but he won't send them. He'll fax them to me. Okay, so he faxed them to me. And I got to go to my guy, and I got to fax it back to him, like we're in 1970 or 80. So I can't. There's no faster way. But so they're kind of weird about sometimes how you even get them the information. But again, civil, criminal IRS is not good. Okay? Yes. Civil, you may think I owe $3 million. I'm a criminal. You're not. You get all the money, and it'll be settled. Some guy had a business. Now they don't. Okay, so it's not criminal to owe it if you did your taxes right and didn't commit fraud on the taxes, right? So, but criminal unit, that's not good. So.
Boy, the show went by so fast. Kevin, give everybody your phone number and website again.
312-853-3100. BenjaminLaw.com. We also have a firm called NobleTaxRelief.com, which is all tax resolution, but also BenjaminLaw.com is part of the resolution also. It's still me, right? We got
and we're going to be running this show again tomorrow at 2:00 Eastern time. If you missed it, and if you've got a relative or a friend that has a tax problem in another state, you can still have them call Kevin.
Yeah, IRS is federal. I'm a federal lawyer. So
exactly. Kevin, we'll see you again next month. And again, tomorrow we'll be running this show again at 2:00 Eastern time.
Great.
Thanks so much, Kevin.
See you later. Bye-bye.
That's Kevin Benjamin. What an incredible, he does bankruptcy. He does tax relief. He's been with us for a long time. again, we'll be rerunning his show again tomorrow. It's a very important topic, both of them. That's it for us today. We will see you again next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.